Okay, from what I understand, it looks like we are live now. I am going to do some of that good old-fashioned confirmation. All right. Live now, I am going to do some of that turning my volume off. Now I'm heading over to Patreon to make sure that the post has been published because last week we had some confusion. If you are joining me right now and you are watching the live lesson, welcome so much. It is always a pleasure to have you. Always so exciting that it makes my voice change. If you want to go ahead and leave a comment in the chat to say hello, that would be lovely to let us know that you are here with us. Always a good time to see these live lessons happening, all right? So howdy out there in learning land. It's just a pleasure to be here this evening. While a couple people, okay, so good. We do have some people. We got some likes. Some people are watching. That is a good thing. Let me actually, again, double check to make sure that my post published because last time that we did this, I had a little trouble and my live post didn't post to Patreon. Okay, sweet. So if you are watching on Patreon, you can click the play button to be live. But if you are watching on Patreon, I encourage you even more. Okay, sweet. Rob Young, Robbie Spouse. What's up, Robs? To watch it on Patreon. Also, guys, so Rob, and anyone watching right now, welcome to the live chat. I hope you got your ukuleles handy. We are breaking down today arranging music and how I take a guitar tab and turn it into a ukulele tab. And I got 3 distinct songs, so this is going to be different. Now, I do not have my lights on, so we're going to watch. The sun is currently going down in Medellin, so we're going to see as the temperature changes, but I do have lights set up over here. Rob, how are you guys doing? What are you guys jamming on? What are you working on? What music are you guys playing right now? I have been doing a lot of chord melody lately. And I'm curious what you guys are playing. So go ahead and leave a comment below. It is always a pleasure to have you with us. And I am going to, throughout this lesson, refer to, in the post that I did on Patreon, I left 3 links to 3 different tabs at ultimateguitar.com. Okay, so as you guys are watching, how's your version of the list going, Robbie? You making progress? Are you doing a chord melody? Are you working with sheet music? Are you working with ultimateguitar.com? Oh man, 2 weeks no ukulele, dude. What's going on? Did you break a finger or just busy with life? So as we continue to go ahead and break this down, we are going to be referring to the Patreon post that has the links. Tears in Heaven. Finally have it writing down my own jam for Sunday songwriting. Hey, that's great, Robbie. I think that Sunday we're going to get into the lyrics section. So we're going to open up a whole new can of worms. And hopefully by the end of this month, both you guys or anyone watching these can go write their own music because it's been a pretty gratifying process, all right? Actually, a little secret. Really good mixing it up. Sorry, simple finger picking now, and I'm transcribing the tab from UG for the finality. Okay, Robbie, so hopefully that this lesson will help you kind of review a couple things that I do to help you with that tab, all right? Okay, so throughout this lesson, we're going to be referring through the post on Patreon that has 3 links to 3 different tabs. Oh, students turning things in late and grading. I can relate to you, my friend. Goodness gracious. I think the only people, or not the only people, but people who have ever been professional teachers in professional settings have a very nice reflection of the work ethic of the demographics in which they live in. And the fact of the matter is, most children are a reflection of adults. And the minute you start grading children's work, you realize that society could work a little harder. All right, so over there on the Patreon post, we have 3 different tabs. The first one is 4 out of 5 by Arctic Monkeys. The next one is Fly Like an Eagle by Steve Miller Band. And the last one is Parisian Walkways by Gary Moore. This evening, I only have about 30, 45 minutes, so we'll see how far we get. But I do know at the end of this lesson, we will always have cover the topics enough to the point where you should at least have the ability to do these things on your own, okay? So if we go over to the Patreon post, I'm gonna open the Arctic Monkeys tab first, all right? We're opening it up, and I opened up the wrong tab. Arctic Monkeys first. So we're gonna talk a little bit about a couple strategies to turn this into a ukulele tab, all right? So we have generic information when looking at a guitar tab that we should make reference of right away. And one of them is the strings of the guitar. So 9 out of 10 times when you look over, 9 out of 10 times, I think my wife is on. Did you guys see a human behind me? Nena, ¿estás en la casa? ¿Cómo estás? Ven por acá. ¿Estás linda? Ven por acá. So, one of the things that we do right away is we look at the lowest note and the highest note. My wife is home. Sorry, she's gone. And we're opening up a tab for the Arctic Monkeys lesson. And, nena, ya estoy en vivo. ¿Quieres decir hola a la gente? Es un grupito chiquito, somos 4.
Okay.
No es como todo el mundo.
Hola a todos.
My wife, nice.
Hi, how are you?
Saying hi to Rob and Robbie.
Nice. Hi, Rob. Hi, Robbie.
Gracias, Nena. Okay.
Thank you.
So,
bye.
Bye, Nena. So that was my wife. Happy you guys can meet her. And we got the tab open, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at the lowest note and the highest note. Why is that? Because what that is gonna do, the other half, the better half is what she is. So what we're gonna do is we are going to look at the highest note and the lowest note. Why is that? Because sometimes with the range of the ukulele, you're gonna have to transpose because some notes are gonna be impossible. And I'm gonna illustrate that day by playing on my soprano to kind of show in the limitation of the range. So as we have 4 out of 5 open, one of the first things I look at is the E, A, D, G, B, and E strings. Well, why is that? Because on our ukulele, we also have an E followed by an A string. So when you're looking at a guitar tab, and if it's playing in the low register, the lowest E and the A strings, you can copy the tabs verbatim. So I look at the tab and I see 5, 3, 5, 2, 3. Okay, so I know right away when I'm playing those notes, and I don't know if you guys, okay, a question for Rob and Rob. Have you listened to this song before? It's a new one. It just came out last week. That's my first question. And 2 would be, actually, that's my only question. Have you heard the song? And actually, I did have another question. Do you have the tabs open? So I have 5, 3, 5, 2, 3, but the next note is on the D string, okay? So this is when we have to start to think about what the actual note is. If you've never played guitar and you don't know, and you're looking at it and you're thinking, oh my gosh, what is that to? If I know this is E and I know this is A and I can do 5, 3, 5, 2, 3 easily, but then I see a D and a 2. Well, if you know B and C, no sharps or flats, E and F, no sharps or flats, you can simply count up D note. The first fret would be D sharp, and then 2, 1, 2 would be our E note. So I look at my D string and I see an E note. What's the E note on the A string? Just because I played so much, I know it's the 7th fret. But if I didn't know the 7th fret, the way I would find it would be playing an A string, going A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Now, if that's where you're, okay, good. You also got the tab route. So if that's where your playing is at right now, where you're going do, 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 or A sharp, B, C, C sharp, oops, D, D sharp, E, there's no shame in that. That's okay. For a long time, Rob and Rob, that's exactly what I did. Every single note. Ba, 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 ba. E flat, ba, 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 D. I did that for a long time. Okay, guys? So there's no shame in that. So we know this is an E now on the second fret. Let's repeat the exercise and let's look at the G string. On the G string, we see both a 4 and a 2. Okay, so what would the fourth fret be above a G string? We'd have a G note, G sharp 1, A 2, A sharp 3, B would be 4. So we need a B note. On our A string, where would a B note be? Second fret. But why is that incorrect? Because we can see that this B note in our tab is actually a whole octave up. All right? So if we do the riff like this, that's not very practical, which is kind of a bummer because that means that we're going to have to move our A, G, F. So if we go back to the beginning of our tab and we see the 5, 3, 5, it will behoove us. This is the first time I've ever said behoove in a ukulele tutorial. And in fact, I'm not even sure that's a word. So we need to know this is an A. And what we're going to do is find that A on our C string. Because then we get a little more of a box. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G. Because it was A, G, A, when we find our G, we know it's going to be the same space. So we get A, G, A. Now, we're going to have to repeat the same exercise for the A string, which was 2, 3. A sharp, B, and C. So let's try to find those on our E string. E, F, G, A, B, B, C. So then we know our new riff is going to go 9, 7, 9, 7, 8. And then to our D, and then our B. Which is way up there, I know. So it's not the ideal range. If you have a bigger ukulele, it's much easier. And at the same time, too, if you were firm and clear in this, if the octave is wrong, I need to move the whole tab. Okay, I'm going to address that question in 2 seconds, Robbie. Okay, so that B is really high. If you had a soprano, you could always transpose this tab. For example, if my riff goes like this, I can move that same exact riff down. Okay, but we're going to try to keep it in key. So now, Robbie, if the octave is wrong, I need to move the whole tab. What do you mean by if the octave is wrong in terms of the space you have in the ukulele? Could you elaborate that question just a little bit for me? Because I would love to answer it for you. Questions are gold, you know what I mean? So keep those questions coming. If you could elaborate that question for me just a little bit, I would love to answer it for you, all right? In general, I would say you need to move the whole tab when you don't have space. Well, 2 options, either move the whole tab or have a bigger ukulele. I try to do if it is too high or low and doesn't match the song. Okay, yes, correct, Rob. If your tune cannot fit on a ukulele, you will need to transpose it or get a bigger ukulele. 2 seconds. This is my tenor ukulele. Now, the range on my soprano, I can play the 12th fret. I don't like to. Ideally, I wouldn't go over 10, but I can. Now, my soprano, which at the moment currently has its G string busted in a million pieces, so it's a 3-string ukulele. You can get sound. This is the 12th fret, 14, 15, 17th fret. So there are times getting a baritone soon, fingers crossed. Yeah, there are times, Robbie, where the range of your ukulele is going to be limited. So you have two options, transposition or a low G. Just be aware that the red strings from Aquila, they rip right in half. They are notorious for breaking. So if you're going to get an OG, not an OG, if you're going to get a low G, I would recommend not doing the Aquila strings, okay? So I'm going to put this one back and continue. All right. If you've ever broken a string, let me know. Leave a message. That was the only time I've ever broken a string on a ukulele. I was very surprised. I don't think you could break a string playing with your fingers, all right? Okay, so we are back. So we are back into breaking it down, and we are back into the tab. That means our B note is our high note up here. Okay, so another alternative, even though I don't have it, would be the low G. You broke a string, Robbie? How'd you do it? Just got a little too funky? So this B note, for example, if you had access to this low G, if you had a low G, which is the lowest note in the tab, you could use the low G and move this whole tab an octave lower. It is very good. When I personally, what I do when I do this is the first thing I look at is the highest note, and the next thing I look at is the lowest note. Because by determining the range, you know right away which ukulele you need to play with, and if you're going to be able to squeeze it all in. Okay? So I'm looking at my tab again, and I've kind of established where I want to play it. And I know right now I'm on 4-2. So I got my B note, which would mean 2 would be below it. Now, this B note is the highest note in the riff I'm looking at. So if I can play that, I can make it work. The next two notes are that 5 and the 7, and I need to repeat the same exercise. I need to know 5 and a 7, what those are, and it's up from a D note. So if we locate a D note, and we move 5 frets up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's a G note. That's how I know when I see that 5-7 in the tab, it's going G to the A. But our octave is a whole step higher, which would be G and A. So the first half of that phrase is going to go, oops, no it won't. It'll go like this. All right. Start over 5-3-5, 5-3, and we're going to get 3. We know that note. But then we're going to 5-3, which we haven't seen yet. But we have seen the 5, and we know that it's a G note, which would be the 10th fret. And 3 would be a whole step below. And we know the 3rd fret again of the A string, C note. So we're going to go above that, 5-3-3-3. So this whole riff is going to be cheap strings. Yeah, cheap strings will rip in half. Okay? Okay, so that was the first one. And that is what I would do when I am preparing songs to teach you guys. So the first thing I do is I figure out if the original key will work. Okay, for this particular song, honestly, if I'm being 100% honest, and I were to play it as a performer, I would make it much easier on myself and transpose it from A minor, probably, I don't even know, G minor maybe, or even further, F minor, because I would give myself so much more room. All right, making it much easier. But as a teacher, I try to keep it as close to the original tune as I can. Okay? Why don't we go ahead and open up the other tab from the Patreon post called Parisian Walkways by Gary Moore, which is a solo with a very big range. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply some of these principles, but we're going to look at what happens when we don't have the range. Okay? So we open Parisian Walkways, and we see our first two notes are a slide from the 12, slide from the 7, and slide from the 8 on the E string. So let's give that a go. Oh, Gary Moore. Mr. Gary Moore. Let's do that one more time. All right. Special tip, when you guys want to create some ambient rock and roll kind of back alley action, Gary Moore is a great place to look at. And these kind of ominous slide downs to complement what we're doing in our songwriting session would sound really good. My song that I'm writing for the Wrong Side of the Sun session is in the key of F. So an F chord is an F, an A, and a C. So I might do the same thing. F, A, C. All right, to give it just a little interest. That's just one little cool tip that you guys can swipe. All right. Okay. So we get back to the tab, and we have 12, 7, 8 sliding down, but then it jumps all the way up to the 15th fret of the B string. Okay. So here's my next tip while we're going through these things. If the gap is too wide with what you're doing with the guitar tutorial, guys, don't worry about closing the gap. For example, if your riff goes from a low G to a high G, you can just keep it in one place. While that dramatic jump, you won't be able to emulate note for note. You will be able to copy the melody and the harmony, which will still be able to create the emotion. So while we're looking at Parisian Walkways and we go to the B string, it's a 15 bend 7. Okay, there's no way the 15th fret on the guitar we're going to be able to make that happen. Why don't we figure out what note it is first? Okay, so we know it's 15 frets from the B. To make that a lot easier, you can recognize that at 12 it resets. So you could go from the B note 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Or you could just go 12, 13, 14, 15. So that means that B on the 15th fret is a D note. And that D note bends up a whole fret to the E note. Oops, that sounded terrible, to an E note. Okay, and then back to our D note. Once you have a note figured out, you can use it as a point of reference, if that makes sense. Okay, so if I know this is 15 and then it says go 13, instead of doing everything again going, okay, 12, 13, I can just know that's 2 frets down from my current note. So I get, all right, because it's 15, bend to 17, 15, 13, 12. Now I know a lot of people are going to look at that and say, 12, what is your thinking process going on right now? It's a B string and 12 is the octave. So even though this is the 2nd fret of the A string, I can also think about it like the 12th fret of the B string of a guitar. How are you guys doing, Robin? Am I going too quick? Does this make sense? Are you fans of Gary Moore? Because he's really tasty. I can't believe he drank himself to death in Spain. Well, actually, I can. But is this rhythm okay? Are these things that you've seen before? Are they things that you understand? Am I creating more questions than clarity? Feel free to keep those questions coming as I'm doing this, because at this point, you two are my live lesson superstars. So I would love to cater these to really what your questions are and what you want, because your success is important to me. Okay? Okay, Rob, I think it's making sense. I'll just have to sit down and do it. Yeah, dude, that's 9 out of 10 of this. That's 9 out of 10 of this. To get the general framework and then go ahead and make some mistakes, right? So 15 bend to 17, 15, 13, 12, plus those slides. But the thing is, you see on the guitar, those are bass notes. And then we go to the high notes. I don't have that luxury. So I've created something that sounds like this. But now I need that 14, 12, and 10. Again, it's on the G string. So I know the 12 on the G string is a G note. I have a G note on the 3rd fret. 14 would be 13, 2 up, and 10 would be 12, 11, 10. So 14, 12, 10 would be So that whole phrase that goes 15 bin 17, 15 13 12, 14 12 10 on the ukulele would sound like this. Oh, come on, Gary, you're tasty. But then it goes to the octave of the E, and then the 13th of the B, which would be a C note, okay? B note, C would be one up, making it right here, bending to 15, a whole step. So we put all that together, we get all right. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is leave that phrasing. It just answered a problem I was having with my list. Awesome, Robbie. That's what I'm talking about. You guys should follow each other on Instagram because Rob Young, if you can post your Instagram at whatever to here, because I think that you guys complement each other, and I've enjoyed watching you guys kind of support each other. You guys, Robbie Sprouse just started posting to Instagram, and I would love you guys to follow each other and kind of give each other some encouragement, because at this point you are my two most dedicated students, and your success is important to me. So let's kind of make a little groupie group we got going, okay? All right, maybe groupie group isn't the right expression. What I'm gonna do is, oh, that's what I'm talking about. You guys are already family. No, it's good. That's what I'm talking about. I dig that. That makes me really happy, all right? Yeah, that's cool. Caught me off guard. I like groupie group too. Okay, so what I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna challenge you guys with the rest of that Parisian Walkways intro to listen to Gary Moore and figure that out. If you want and you get it, post it on YouTube. I would love to, or not on YouTube, on Instagram. I'd love to hear you play it. If you are a little too daft learning uke, that's the awesomest thing I've read all day. And if you guys are a little too timid to kind of throw just a solo out there for a song you're not that invested in, send it to me and I'd love to listen to it, okay? All right, but we're gonna have to keep moving. We're gonna do our last tab. These were all guitar tabs that were focused on lead or melody. How does that work when we look at a guitar tab that is focused on rhythm? That should be our band name. Yeah, I'm all about it. I'm all about Dad's Learning Uke, man. I would totally see you guys. I'd go to your concert. I'd wear your t-shirts. I'd even teach your original songs on Tim Thumbs. There's no doubt about that. Okay, so let's open our last tab, which is going to be the one in the middle, which I love this song. We're going to look at Fly Like an Eagle by the Steve Miller Band. All right, so one of the first things I do, well, let me explain a little bit why I chose these three tabs. One is I chose the first one because it's a good example of something that you can fit the whole range on the ukulele, even if it's on the high end of the range. I chose the second one because you don't have the luxury of having bass and high notes with that particular one. So you kind of have to choose how are you going to mix the octaves. Because on the guitar, this would be the bass, and this would be the high notes. Oh, that's so tasty. Gary, I miss you, man. Alcoholism. And then, but when we get to Fly Like an Eagle, we are doing a rhythm lesson. So a rhythm lesson, we are going to have to focus on a couple different aspects. Why? When we go to the Fly Like an Eagle, you'll see above the riff, you'll see A minor 7 harmony, okay? So if I were to ask you guys, I know there's a little bit of a delay, but if I were to ask you guys, what does it mean harmony? So I'm gonna have to wait like maybe 3 or 4 seconds. But what does it mean harmony? If you see those riffs and you see A minor 7, parentheses, harmony, what does that mean? I know that's definitely not the Jeopardy theme song, all right? Okay, What it means is, and what it implies is, that these notes would play over an A minor. So for example, if one of you were to do those tabs, just taking a guess, but to play two or more things together in harmony. Yeah, Robbie, that's essentially what it is. It means if one of you is playing that tab verbatim, the other one could be, yeah, Rob, that's exactly what it is, word for word. Playing A minor 7 chord with the melody behind it. So if you were two people and one of you were going, then the other one, and that's how the melody and the chords work together. Very good, okay? So why is that important when looking at something like this particular tab for Fly Like an Eagle? It's important because in this context, essentially what this riff is doing is playing a very complicated version of an A minor. So let's start at the beginning. We see on the A string of our guitar, a 7 hammer 9. We have an A string on our ukulele, so the easiest way is to identify what that note is. Go up to the 7. I know this is an E note because of my time playing the ukulele. I really can't emphasize enough. I like using GarageBand to make my own harmony. Really helps soloing skills too. No doubt, Rob, if you have the ability to make loops and also search for backing tracks, 100%, and you start to understand chord tones and melody, and that can even help you write melody for the voice. That's really important. Okay, so we see a 7 hammer 9. Well, that is an E hammering into an F sharp. And that doesn't do us a lot of good way up here if we just want a nice rhythm section. So what I'm going to do is look for my E string, and hammer in the 2nd fret. Okay, nice. So I have just the beginning of this little riff for Fly Like an Eagle. And it goes up to the D and plays a 7 string. Well, what would the 7th of the D be? Why don't we find a D note? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's an A note. That makes sense, right? That's exactly what our A string is going to play. But then we see 5, 5, a double stop. Well, what would an A note a whole step below be? A G note. A G note here. It really, again, I'm going to drop the word behoove. It really benefits you to take the time to memorize the notes where you have your dots. Those are great. Think about them like mile markers. Yeah, Rob Young too, exactly. Understanding intervals is gold. B.B. King didn't solo in scales, he soloed in intervals. And he understood how every interval in the scale related to the chord he was playing. If you can have that level of understanding of music and you can identify kind of each emotion that each interval creates, you're kind of getting to Beethoven status. I mean, then you're just fully free to do what you want. Turn this light down a little bit, guys. All right. So it's highly beneficial to do exactly what you're talking about. Intervals, I teach notes, but now in today, the way I approach things, I think a lot about it more like intervals, okay? Okay, so we have our, and then an F note, but we see the G note, or on the G string, we also have the 5th fret. So 5 notes above a G string, 1, 2, 3, 4, is a B note, or right here. Okay, that's interesting. So we get, that doesn't sound right. It sounds like I made a mistake. Well, let me double check that 5th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. The C note, that still doesn't feel right to me. It feels like that's supposed to be a C note. Yeah, that is correct. I don't know. G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, because it is a C note. I'm being a fool. So we get that hammer in, and then we're gonna play the G note. Well, sorry guys, now I'm a little confused. I confused myself. The E note, the A note. Yeah, there it is. So our 7 hammer 9 is E to F sharp. Our 7th fret of the D string is our open A. And then our 5/5 is G and C. Okay, which makes sense because an A minor 7 chord has an A, C, E, G, and a C. All right? And then it sounds like the tune. I recommend 100% while you guys are doing these activities, play with the record. All right? Have an idea in your head what that song is. I like intervals, but I start to go crazy with patterns and ideas, kind of kills creativity right now. Ooh, that is an interesting, the 2 R's. Did I say 2 R's, Robbie? I meant 2 5s. Because I'm looking at this tab with the fly. Okay, those R's on top. Okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. To be honest, I don't know what those R's are. Okay, yeah, I do. They would mean rest. They would mean rest. So in that particular place, they're giving it a rest. But that's not really normal to see that on the tabs, but they're implying that it's a little break. Okay, and Rob, too, patterns killing creativity. There's a great exercise for that, my friend, and it's called note limitation. While next time you're jamming, limit yourself to just 3 notes and try to get as many ideas out of 3 notes as possible. Okay, so you just take those 3 notes and you do as many different things as you can. By making it more restricted, your creativity is forced to push its boundaries a little more, and that will apply itself once you open up the fretboard big time. Okay, that's what I call the 3 note limitation exercise. And in fact, I don't know if that's what I call it, but from now on I will. All right, so we get, if we see in our tab, we have 7 7, but we already know 5 5 is here. Then we know 7 7 will be 1 2 2 frets up. All right, I can hear it a little bit. Okay, so that is how it works with rhythm. Now, the last thing I want to let you guys know before I let you go is sometimes when you're doing these activities, and you'll see on the tab, you'll see a G note and a C note. But for example, the double stop is just not going to work. Don't be afraid to flip those notes upside down. If you can't find a place to play a G and a C, look for a place to play a C and a G. Now that's called inversion. And it won't be verbatim exactly what you're hearing on the guitar, but a large part of what I do at 10 Thumbs and a large part of what you guys have come accustomed to learning is getting as close as we can, all right? So don't be afraid to take those ideas and flip them upside down, just in case that you see somewhere, for example, you're way up on the neck or way low and you just can't get that double stop. You can always take the notes and flip them upside down, which is something that frequently happens on the ukulele. All right, so let me play this riff for you one last time, and we get, okay, while I play the riff one last time, because I know there's a little bit of lag between us, I want you guys to think of any last questions that you have. I'll play through this riff, and then we'll answer the questions, and then we will bid adieu because it is a Friday night, and I have a dinner date with my lovely wife. All right, so here we go. Oops, I'm gonna at least play it right before I let you guys go. Okay, so this, okay. Okay, that wasn't right at all. That wasn't right at all. But I have to kind of listen to this song. That's another thing too. While you're doing these ideas, Get the vibe for the tabs, know more or less where your fingers need to be, and then just play along with the song, play along with the song, play along with the song, play along with the song. There's nothing better than that, all right? Okay, Robbie, I think I'm getting it. This relates to the reading sheet music, but when a line has more than one note, would you treat it like a double stop? Okay, that depends. Usually what I focus, Robbie, on is when I'm looking at my sheet music, the highest note. And then the double stops, I would say they're to taste. They're kind of like salt. You can always include them, but usually what's going on with the left hand, I think about it like a bass guitar and I just throw it out completely. I just don't worry about it. But if you wanted to, you could treat it like a double stop. That's the harmony supporting it. So if you know, for example, you see a note on your sheet music and it has a C note, but it also has a G note below it and an E note below it. Those are all C note chords. So it's the same as doing this as it is. Okay, so that's up to your preference. But focus on the top note because the top note is the melody, because that's the note that your ear is going to hear. And then everything else you can kind of fill in to taste. With those chord melodies and those ideas, I think the number one thing is to keep it as simple as possible. And then once you've made it as simple as possible, play it as many times as you can, and then start to make it complicated and more complicated and more complicated. The first time I did the chord melody for What a Wonderful World, it sounded like this. Okay, but after playing it so many times, I got something like this. Because I know where that melody's at, so I can mix it up. Rock on, Blues Faces, my friend. Really great lesson. Love limiting notes, 2 or 3 in the key to learning to jam. I'm sure the natural progression is to add a note or so as you move on. Exactly, Rob. Get as many ideas as you can from limited ideas, because then you're going to really focus on 2 elements that are often overlooked, which is timing and length of a note. To really quick to touch on that, yeah, Robbie, I think it's a little bit overcomplicating it. Focus on the melody. To really quick touch on that 3-note idea, you get something that's like this. I'm in A minor, so my scale would be 02, 03, 03, 2, 4, 3, 5, 3, 5. But I'm going to limit myself to 3, 3, 5. Well, watch what happens even when I play the same notes in the same order. All right, so those are all different ways that I use different timing and the length of the note to create variation just with 3 notes. And by getting as many ideas as you can at a limited space, you can really expand that. Super, super important for jamming, right? Okay, Robbie and Rob, you are my 2 favorite Patreon students. The word we use in Spanish is juicioso, which means judicial, more or less. And I appreciate your judiciality. Even if that is a word, I'm inventing words again, all right? All right, my friends. Doubts, questions, feel free to write me. I'm very invested in your success. I appreciate the fact that you support us so much. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to holler at me. Enjoy the Friday evening. I will travel next week to USA. So our live lessons for the month of June are going to be the last 2 weeks of June, just a quick heads up. But I will also post that on the 1st of June. I'm going to take a page out of Cynthia Lynn, and I'm going to post the dates for our live lessons on the 1st of every month, so you can plan your calendar accordingly from the 1st of the month to make it a little bit easier. All right, guys? All right, everybody. I am going to go have a delicious pizza. Take care of yourselves. Keep on rocking and rolling. Always a pleasure. You guys are fantastic. All right? Namaste. Now it's a little awkward because I can't find out. Okay, here it is. Here's how to turn it off. Rock and roll, dudes.